I read an article today that I want to discuss. It was published by the New York Times, and this article is actually in regards to a lawsuit that's happening right now with a company called MVP Staffing. What the company was doing was knowingly staffing companies with undocumented workers. And they were doing this, they were in cahoots with the other companies. Like, the other companies were, they wanted the undocumented worker. And for obvious reasons, right? I mean, you get to pay them less. If they get injured, they won't say shit. If you fire them for no reason, they won't say shit. Uh, they have any complaints whatsoever, who do they go to? You know? Um, and, obviously you can pay them less. It's the number one, you can pay them less. But this lawsuit is actually a good thing. It's directed towards the the companies that, well, the staffing agency and the other companies that are involved. They're led by, and I don't know the plaintiff's name, and I think they mentioned one of the plaintiffs in the article. I'll put the link in the description box. You guys can read the article yourself. But the this is actually led by African American workers that were trying to get, either that have been hired on by one of these staffing agencies and they witness the racism themselves. And let me explain this. On the reason why this is sticking is because this was brought to the attention to the courts by African Americans. And what they did was they were saying that the staffing agency was preferring to hire Mexican workers. And they would show up on time. The African American applicants would show up on time. They would get there early. And, they were just receiving less jobs, less opportunities. Because those opportunities were being handed to the cheaper labor. And there's two whistleblowers that have been mentioned in the article, and these young ladies mentioned that there were different things that were going on. There were the companies would call in and say they specifically want Hispanics or Mexican workers, or they would say they would write down in the application guapo for the white guy that came in, or for the black guy that came in. Guapo in Spanish is handsome. And what that meant pretty much was these guys, they won't get their hands dirty. Right? They're pretty boys. They won't get their hands dirty. So guapo. And then fails, they would put down for the Mexican workers. And those fails, the ugly ones, is the ones that they would send off to the the companies that had the contract with the staffing agency. That part of the story really bugged me, because apparently the managers that were using these code words were Hispanic. And this really bugs me. Because I know this company is based out of Florida. And I really want to know, what the fuck is up with those people? I really want to know. Because you can't tell me that this is you offering opportunities to Mexicans and you're going to act like this is a good thing that you're doing. Because all you're doing is throwing our people into the slave system, the cheap labor system. You're not doing anybody any favors. And I know that they need to work. I know that they need to find a place. But the way that you're doing it is very fucking shady. You're not just doing it to one or two people. You're doing this systematic. You're building your company as a staffing agency for other companies, so they can go around and cut corners and save money by hiring cheap labor. And most of the time, I guarantee you, they're overworking them and underpaying them. So you're not doing anybody any favors. And all you're doing is getting a pat on the back by corporate because you're a good manager. You got people hired. You filled up those positions. You were doing your job. Fuck those guys. Honestly, I hope the lawsuit gets those motherfuckers fired, or they get a penalty too for their involvement, for their hands-on involvement. I don't know. This is honestly a touchy subject because depends on how people perceive this. This is going to tarnish any relationships that there are between the black and brown, especially if it comes down to fighting for scraps. Um, it's this is my biggest problem is that if we can get African Americans working, get them those jobs back, right? You can bring change to the unemployment rate that's already dragging them down in Chicago, which is the highest in the nation. This is a big city that needs a lot of help. So, what they're doing is really just bending over backwards for corporations that are trying to, save a couple bucks. It's fucking bullshit. And then this is what I'm nervous about. This is where I'm getting at. If the media presents this in a way where the undocumented worker, the one that is being manipulated and used, if he's the one that's gonna be painted as the villain, then I know where I stand on that argument, because that's bullshit. This is wrong. What these companies were doing was wrong. What the managers were doing was wrong. But if this is going to be used as an excuse to okay a mass deportation, to okay continue discrimination against our people, or to you just use this as fuel for more hate, then I know where I personally I know where I stand on that end of it. This will be up to how the media presents these type of stories. Are they going to throw the worker under the bus, or are they going to put attention towards the businesses that are hiring them and taking advantage of them? And this is actually great that these workers stood up and are filing lawsuits. There's companies that aren't even based in the United States. They're not here. They're manufacturers that are in Mexico. They're farms in Mexico that are American owned companies, but they're doing the slave labor over there at a fraction of what they pay workers here. And I'm talking about not American workers, but undocumented workers. So you have companies that are using Mexicans as slave labor in the United States and in Mexico. Mexicans aren't taking your jobs, they're being given away. All right? Just to let you guys know. This is Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.